Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am finishing my Pride Rock build. If you haven't watched the first part of that video, definitely go watch that before you watch this. As I wrapped up last week, I had one thing on my mind, and it was fear. Fear is a very powerful thing that kind of can consume and control our lives. As a kid, I was afraid of clowns and heights and abandonment. As I got older, some of those fears kind of went to the wayside, and I realized they were irrational, but some of them still stick with me. A fear of failure is definitely one that this build kind of encompassed. I made a big promise to a whole lot of people that I could deliver something that they could use, and I don't want to let them down. So today I'm going to talk about fear as I finish up this build, and hopefully it strikes a chord with you and you realize that you can use fear to motivate, and not always in the way that you think. So without further ado, let's finish this Pride Rock. Let's get to building. Sometimes you take on a project that scares you a little. You say yes, and then a few days in, you start to wonder, what was I thinking? That's what this build was to me. I put over 74 hours into this thing in just 10 days after teaching all day, out in the Texas heat, running on caffeine and determination. And there were moments I wanted to quit. Moments I thought, I'm not going to finish this in time. Moments where I thought I was letting people down. The band director, her assistants, the students, and honestly, myself. But here's what I've learned every single time I've been in that place. Fear shows up right before you do something great. It's that voice in the back of your head that says you can't. Silence that self-doubt and get ready to prove the voice wrong. Building Pride Rock wasn't just about plywood, foam, and paint. It was about pushing through doubt. It was about showing up even when I was tired, sore, and sunburned. Because sometimes the only way to grow is to bite off more than you can chew and learn to chew faster. Every project teaches you something, not just about tools or techniques, but about yourself. About what you're capable of when you refuse to give up. And when it's all said and done, you stand back, look at your build, and realize that the real thing you were building was yourself. I disassembled and reassembled this thing every day because the Texas weather is kind of unpredictable, and I didn't want any wind, rain, dirt, or stray animal to damage it during the night. Because yes, there are cats and possums and raccoons wandering all over the neighborhood, and squirrels, lots and lots of squirrels. After the chaos of building the frame, the space was a mess. Tools everywhere, scraps piled up, foam dust coating everything. It's funny how the clutter around you can start to sound like the clutter in your head. Fear thrives in that kind of chaos, so I took a few minutes to clean up. Not just to make room for the next step, but to reset my mindset. When you take time to organize, it's like telling your fear, I'm in control now. I'm ready for what's next. Sometimes progress isn't about cutting or painting, it's about pausing long enough to see where you've been and preparing yourself to keep going. A clean workspace helps you to remember why you started, and that's the best way to turn fear into focus. So if you're out there staring down something that scares you, a big project, a new idea, performing in front of a crowd, a major or minor changing your life, a challenge that feels impossible, remember this. Fear is just the starting line. You don't have to have it all figured out, you just have to start. Because every cut, every mistake, every moment you keep going, that's how you find your pride. Share your talents with the world, good or bad, we all start somewhere. And just like any other skill or adventure worth pursuing, the fear and failures can pave the way for the opportunity to get better. Like Rafiki says in The Lion King, oh yes, the past can hurt, but the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. When you start a project this big, fear creeps in pretty fast. You see every gap in the build, in your time, in your confidence. The expanding foam, it's a bit messy, unpredictable, and kind of hard to control, just like fear. But here's the thing, fear fills the gaps too. It forces you to slow down, to pay attention, to problem solve. If you can learn to work with that fear, not fight it, it becomes the glue that holds your determination together. The mess, the sweat, the mistakes, that's where your courage starts to take shape. Fear shows up first, right when you start something that matters. Make sure when you're using this great stuff that you wear gloves and proper eye protection. It's a super sticky material and an absolute nightmare to try and get off your skin, especially since water helps to speed up the curing time. A lot of it will drip onto the ground. Let it set up and you'll be blessed with what I am calling forbidden Cheetos. Resist the urge to eat the forbidden Cheetos. Fear can sharpen you. It keeps you precise and intentional. There's something intimidating about making that first cut, because once you do, there's no going back. That's the fear talking, telling you that you might ruin it. But fear also forces you to focus, to plan, to commit. Every time I hesitated, I reminded myself, fear only has power if you stop moving. The trick isn't to get rid of fear, it's to carve through it. Use it as focus. Let it steady your hand instead of shaking them. Fear is a sign that you're creating something that matters. If you weren't scared, it probably wouldn't be worth doing. The nice thing about the process is, if I mess up, I can just add another layer of XPS foam over the top of it. The extra cracks and texture just add to the unevenness of the surface and make it look more like a rock. A happy little texture accident. Fear tests your foundation and builds your strength. When I was putting together the base, the fear wasn't about the cuts or the screws, it was about time, about whether I'd even finish. That kind of fear can eat at you, but it's also what keeps you showing up, double checking your work and giving everything you got. The fear of failing these students or letting someone down, that became my motivation. I didn't run from it, I built on it. A strong foundation doesn't come from confidence, it comes from persistence in the face of fear. When you channel fear into effort, it becomes structure, something solid you can stand on. My second to last screw on this framework snapped in half, sending the drill right into my thumb. Luckily, my bone stopped it from going all the way through. I ran inside bleeding pretty bad, cut off a flap of skin, bandaged it up, and then went right back outside to work. I hesitated on that next screw for just a second until I took a breath and told myself, suck it up, Buttercup, you got more to do. Fear can weigh you down, but strength comes from how you hold things together. The 2x4s, plywood, dozens of screws, and the XPS foam make this last rock close to 100 pounds. It's funny, fear can feel the same way. At first, it's just a thought, but the more you pile on, the more you carry it, the heavier it gets. Using this 3M90 adhesive on the foam actually starts to melt it. To make it more secure, I added some screws with washers to the first layer before I added more to the foam. form. If you let fear stick to you the wrong way, it drags you down. But if you use it the right way, as fuel, as focus, it can actually strengthen your bond to your purpose. The spray adhesive reminds me that the strength isn't just about lifting the weight, it's about how you connect under pressure. When things feel really heavy, remember, you're not meant to carry it all at once. You just have to hold it long enough for the glue to set. Fear of imperfection is what drives transformation. Painting this first layer felt like covering up all my mistakes, but fear kept whispering, what if it's not good enough? And that voice, instead of stopping me, made me more careful, more intentional, more creative. Fear has a way of holding up a mirror, showing you where you still need work. That's not a weakness, that's guidance. The only difference between fear and growth is what you do next. You can freeze up, or you can pick up a brush and get going. Every brushstroke is an act of defiance against fear. I wanted to get the base layer of paint down so I could move on to detailing the next day. I was outside until about 11 o'clock at night this day. Crawling around after a long day of building was not fun, but the finish line was getting in sight. I added a little bit of white to my base gray color of paint and began dry brushing the panels. It's the same process as a small build that I do inside on a helmet or diorama, but on a much larger scale. My arms and back were on fire after doing this for 4 or 5 hours straight. With a protective coat of paint on, I could even hit some of the areas with spray paint and not worry about it melting the foam. Fear keeps you humble and hungry. That's where mastery begins. The stage is all about patience and subtlety, and fear loves to rush you. It tells you that it's not worth your time and that no one will notice. But fear's also a reminder that you care about the result. It pushes you to notice the details, to give it just a little more heart. You can't create something beautiful without walking through a little fear. It sharpens your eye, it makes you deliberate. When you let fear sit beside you instead of behind the wheel, that's when you turn effort into art. These 4 amazing people are in charge of the band program at my school. Miss Skeef Pruitt, our band director, somehow managed to color coordinate her outfit with Pride Rock today. None of them have seen it at this point finished. My phone audio was pretty bad, so I'll just voice over here instead. When I saw their faces, I realized every fear I had, every long night, every doubt, it all led to this moment. Fear didn't stop me. It fueled me. It made me careful, thoughtful, and committed. Every time I thought it was over my head, fear reminded me how much I cared, how much I didn't want to let these 4 people down. The truth is, you never really get rid of fear. You just learn to let it walk beside you, because fear and pride, they're 2 sides of the same climb. You can't reach one without facing the other. And I'm honored that my longtime friend trusted me enough to be creative with a piece of her band competition. And to the band kids who may be watching this, regardless of the outcome of this marching season, you are the rock, and you'll always be the pride of our school. Never doubt yourself. Work hard and show the state of Texas why you're the best band in the land. Keep working on that roar. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I think it turned out pretty good. Definitely, I think the people that I've showed it to so far were impressed with it, and I really hope that it does bring something to their performance, though I don't think it really matters. The band at the school I work with is just top tier. They're amazing people that are on staff, and all of the students, like, the amount of dedication is inspiring. Maybe you will try and make something like this yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to bite off more than you can chew, have moments of despair, but find the strength to push through. Yeah. Maybe you'll get some.
Yay!
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them, much props. Time to go bandage some wounds and take a few days off. Peace out. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and you want to see more builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.